Dear students, Assalamu alaikum. This is Professor Dr. Zia Ahmed. Welcome to YouTube channel. Today we are going to talk about one concept about the being fundamentalist in Mohsen Hamid's novel, Reluctant Fundamentalist. We are to discover and see and try to understand who actually is the fundamentalist in the novel according to the writer. Is it the writer? Is it the American person? And is it the protagonist of the novel who is going to be the reluctant fundamentalist? So that question is to be attempted to be settled, rather, not settled, attempted to be settled. Let's see how does it happen. In the novel, we know very well that the author is going to be Mohsen Hamid, and this novel was published in 2007, immediately after the debacle of 9/11 in USA. And therefore, the novel is not only post colonial, but also it carries some kind of allegory of post coloniality. It has got certain psychological realism in it as well. The writer has attempted to put all these things together. And so, in the central character, the protagonist, Genghis Khan, who appears to be a Pakistani man, he is found to be caught between two words. One was the word of America, other was the word of the non-American people. And in other words, one was the word which was scared of the terrorism, and the other was the word which had the seeds of terrorism according to them in the very being, in the very happening, or in the division of the word. So as a result, we can see that the novel is enacted in Lahore, Pakistan, and it is also enacted around the 9/11 situation of the United States. So therefore, there's a double place, there's a double role, there's a double thing which is going to happen in this novel. So that is the type of novel in which really there is an ambiguity how it can be decided who is going to be the fundamentalist. If you ask this question, that who is going to be the fundamentalist, we will be looking at Genghis Khan first of all, because he's the one whose ideological awakening takes place, and from America to Pakistan he comes back, and as a result he is able to discover something in him, whether he is along with the American people or with the kind of political activity of or the ideology of his own country where he's going to be. Again and again we see him stressing that he's with the American people. And so, in that way, it's doubtful whether he is going to be the fundamentalist or reluctant fundamentalist. In the same way, this question is left to us to decide who it is going to be. Yes, in this angle, the question can also be looked at that Genghis Khan didn't want to be a fundamentalist. He wanted to be American, he wanted to be friendly and with the Americans, but the treatment which was done to him that made him turn back to his country. So, is he going to be the fundamentalist? That still is to be seen. For that purpose, the best way is to define what fundamentalism is going to be. Fundamentalism is a strict, uncompromising adherence to a set of beliefs. So it's not simply about the Muslims, it is about any person who is strict and is uncompromising in his beliefs, whatever he's got. He may be Christian, he may be a Muslim, he may be Hindu, any person, but if he's got this type of attitude towards his ideas, that person is got to be the fundamentalist person. And this thing, therefore, can be religious also, can be economics also, can be nationalistic or ideological as well. In Hamid's novel, we can see that the concept has been expanded with respect to the religion. We can see that both East and West are portrayed as capable of becoming fundamentalist as possible. So how it happens inside that, let us go into more details. We know that Genghis Khan is the person who can be labeled as a fundamentalist because he begins his life in the novel as the person who has an American dream. He therefore wins the job at Underwood Sampson, and Underwood Sampson is the firm, is the company which is symbol of capitalist efficiency. There, Mohsen Hamid's protagonist joins and experiences that there is a discrimination. This discrimination has highlighted itself after post 9/11 activity, and therefore, with the passage of time, he experiences more and ultimately attempts to turn to his own ideologies, which are, according to him, anti imperialist ideologies, or at least the critique. Therefore, his fundamentalism begins to awaken, but that fundamentalism is not violent, it's not religious, it is going to be an intellectual type of fundamentalism. Let's see more details. If we look at how the economic fundamentalism is available in this novel, we can see that the company where Genghis Khan is working, its motto is focus on fundamentals. It's seen in this context that when the company becomes fundamentalist, or the capitalist who is the owner of that company, that becomes fundamentalist. So we can see that this company represents capitalist absolutism, that means valuing profit over people. That for this company, people are not important, profit is important. This new liberal attitude which this company has, and this is quite common in all American world. Cengiz realizes this thing and sees that economic exploitation is going on even in this company. Therefore, he rejects these ethos and feels that something in him is awakening. And this awakening possibly makes him also believing in his fundamentalist values, as he sees that Underwood Sampson also believes in these values. And then there is the American ideological fundamentalism. When the Americans are attacked, according to him, the nationalism among the Americans becomes absolute. They begin to follow the nationalism. Instead of following the morals, the ethics, or the other capabilities, they follow the absolutism in their nationalism. They think that patriotism is there that must be vacant, but very soon the same patriotism turns into suspicion and control. And so there is a lot of racial profiling, surveillance, and cultural intolerance. All these things, three things mainly, come in front, that they begin to believe in race and begin to believe that the race is superior, and they started to conduct surveillance of different people in one way or the other, and then they started to have some type of intolerance about their culture and about the foreign cultures as well. When seen in this context, the America itself becomes a fundamentalist country because it begins to have a strong belief and intolerance about these beliefs with whatever they have possessed. And in that way, the possibilities that as a nation state, Pakistan may be a fundamentalist state, but the Americans also behave in the same way. And so, when we look at Genghis Khan, who is transformed in this novel, not physically, but ideologically, for example, we can see that he has conflicting emotion of 9/11. In him, a type of inner satisfaction arises when he listens to the news of the World Trade Center to be attacked by the airplanes, and then therefore he becomes alienated, not only from USA but from Pakistan as well. He was already out of Pakistan and he was in America, but when this thing happened, he began to feel that he's no more American. He is no more the part of those people, and they are not ready to include him. So that is why he begins to feel like this. And so he returns to Lahore to teach and critique US foreign policies. This is the kind of awakening, ideological awakening in him, and because of which possibly he's turned to be a fundamentalist. He becomes a spokesperson of the post-colonial resistance. So as post-colonial theory describes to us that it's the resistance towards master's control, that thing he tries to do so that is why he appears to be more a post-colonial protagonist rather than a fundamentalist. But the shift towards his own ideologies or the country's ideologies, that makes him a little bit of the fundamentalist. If you look at Erica, another symbolic character, a very important character in the novel, we can see that she also possesses certain traits which are nostalgia and loss, and she is obsessed with the past. And she is also feeling unable to see Chengiz represent America. And she therefore begins to, or feels constantly trapped in the past images of America and her lover Chris. She declines to mirror America's moral crisis at all. So that is her own view of all that. So therefore, she's the one who also behaves in the same way. So therefore, she also believes in her own ideologies and she's not ready to quit them. And in that way, she too possesses the seeds of being a person who strictly believes in her own ideologies. And therefore, when we talk of this kind of thing in this novel, we feel that this novel is having a lot of ambiguity, that it won't let us decide whether Chengiz is going to be a fundamentalist, or some ideology is going to be a fundamentalist, or some company is going to be fundamentalist, or a country is going to be fundamentalist. In a way, one can understand that the world has changed in such a way after 9/11 that everybody has started to take care of personal beliefs, ideological beliefs, national beliefs, patriotic beliefs, and if somebody has done so, the world overall become fundamentalist world. So unless and until this fundamentalism does not acquire the shape of being violent and extremist, it's not the problem, but the problem occurs at that time. Now, it all depends upon the reader. How does he take that? For example, novel is the monologue. It demands interpretation. Therefore, it's not possible to leave it to the writer only, the reader becomes also responsible in that. And therefore, American listener's silence symbolizes Western deafness, that West is not ready to listen to anything. Although it's monologue, the American would not be speaking, but his unease, his problem, his unwillingness to accept the kind of verdict which Genghis Khan is giving, that all goes to show that he also is fixed with his own ideologies. So, ending of the novel therefore leaves a question: who is going to be the reluctant fundamentalist? I think anybody who changes himself and becomes a person who sticks to his own ideologies but doesn't become violent is not a fundamentalist in that sense, as the word takes it in the normal context of 9/11. He's the person who only believes in that. So, therefore, pushing these people into their own beliefs, once again, the word becomes responsible itself to be a fundamentalist word. So we can have a conclusion that Chinggis becomes a fundamentalist of conscience, of intellect, not of religion. America's economic and political rigidity mirrors the same absolutism. Hamid's message of all forms of extremism, east or west, are dangerous according to him. He does not recommend that, he rather critiques that. And the novel promotes introspection over accusation. Now it does not accuse anybody. And that is why there is no particular fundamentalist. So that is why it is possible to believe that nobody is fundamentalist, everyone is believing in one's own ideologies. So the students can discuss the questions like this one. What makes Cengiz a reluctant fundamentalist? How does capitalism function as a new form of fundamentalism? Does Hamid justify or critique Cengiz's transformation? Is the novel ending hopeful or threatening? The students can try to answer these questions in the light of this small lecture so that they may better understand more. So thank you, students, for watching this. Hopefully you get something out of it. And if yes, do not fail to hit the subscribe button as well as the like button. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you in some next video.